Hello everyone, this is Bhavya Sharma here and welcome to the Med Concepts with Bhavya. Today we are going to talk about how to study physiology effectively, how to make notes effectively, how to learn it for a longer duration of time, and also how to not forget what we have learned already. So in the previous videos, if you would have seen, I've already talked about anatomy, how to study anatomy effectively and how to remember it effectively. I would add the link to that video in my description. You can check it out in my description if you haven't seen it yet. And now today in this video we are going to talk about another very important basic subject of the medical field, that is our physiology. So when we start talking about physiology, the basic thing that you need to know is physiology is more about the concept maps, the pathway diagrams, the flow charts, and less about the diagrams. You have more diagrams when we talk about anatomy, and you have more of concept maps when you talk about physiology. The first thing that you need to know is, for some people, physiology is harder than anatomy. They can learn anatomy, but they get confused when you talk about physiology. That is why we are making a video on physiology. Second and the most important thing is, we will talk about physiology in a manner we are going to learn it and write it. For example, we have muscle physiology, blood physiology, nerve physiology, etc, etc, etc. So we will talk about that one by one. I will be taking example of at least any one topic, and I will be explaining the synopsis that you have to learn for the particular topics. So that is how we are going to talk about physiology and make it easier for you people to understand, remember, and learn it for a longer period of time. So let us first talk about the synopsis, and then we will go through each and every basic important topics in which the physiology has been divided, and we will see how to answer or learn those particular topics. So talking about the synopsis, the first thing that you write, see, it is almost similar to anatomy, but there'll be a difference in the words that you use, because in anatomy you're talking about the insertion, then you're talking about the origin, then you're talking about the nerve supply, blood supply, etc. But here you're not going to talk about any insertions or origins because you don't have muscles here. You're going to learn about the physiology, the metabolic actions that occur inside our body. So that is different from anatomy. So we have to make sure to learn it in a different way and to write it in a different way. Every subject has its own design of writing and learning. So let us go through the design of physiology. For learning physiology, or for writing it in an exam, or for writing good running notes for your studies, you have to write the synopsis. That is the basic major important points. So the first thing that you would be doing is definition. For example, they have asked you the endocrine gland. So you have to define the endocrine gland. Okay. Now, if they have asked any structure, for example, they have asked the skeletal muscular structure, you have to explain its structure, you have to explain its contents, you have to explain its functions, and then you have to explain its importance. Okay. You have to explain the importance even in hormones also. Like for example, oxytocin. You have to explain the importance of oxytocin in our body. This is all about the basic things. Then going into a deeper level or the next level, you would be talking about the pathways, concept maps, and diagrams. See, you don't have pathways in everything. You have pathways in particular topics like BP, blood pressure. Regulation of blood pressure are in two ways, right? Short-term regulation and long-term regulation. For that, if you see in your textbooks, you would have concept maps or pathways. So you have to make pathways, or you have to involve pathways when it comes for BP as of topic. So you have to write about the pathway, you have to explain the pathway when some topic like regulation of BP or some pathway including topic has been asked or you are supposed to learn. For example, if you're talking about regulation of oxytocin, or if you're talking about NMJ, that is the neuromuscular junction, you would have a concept map like of diagram. Like you will make bubbles, clouds, rounds, squares, and etc. And you will add little small words, keywords, and make a beautiful concept map. That way, when you write in the exam, it shows that you know the matter, the topic very thoroughly, very well. Also may have diagrams. For example, if you're talking about the endocrine gland or a pituitary gland or some gland or some hormone, they also have diagrams. For example, for pituitary gland, you will have a diagram. So you have to make the diagram as well. Then, if we take an example of CVS, that is the Cardiovascular System, which is a unit in our physiology book. or our physiology syllabus. In that we have lots of calculations. For example, we have to calculate the tide mark, the cardiac output, the ventilation, the ventricular diastole, systole, etc. You are supposed to calculate all those things. So these type of topics would involve calculation. So if these type of topics have to be learnt or have to be made notes of or have to be written in exam, you have to include the calculation as well. Some topics may involve graph depiction also. For example, you will have graph depiction for your heart rate, for your systole and diastole diagrams, etc. So you have to make sure you involve graph representation also. See, one thing that you have to remember is whatever is necessary, you are supposed to involve that to enhance up your answer, to enhance your understanding, and to enhance your image in front of the invigilator when he checks your paper. And last but not the least, it is as similar as anatomy. We have applied or clinical anatomy when it comes to anatomy, and we have clinical or applied physiology when it comes to physiology. The very, very, very basic thing that you must remember, whether it is anatomy or physiology or anything, highlight your key points. By highlighting, I don't mean you can use highlighters. You're not supposed to use highlighters when it comes to writing exam. But if you're making notes for yourself so that you have a handy notes in your hands when you have exams nearby, then you can highlight your notes. But when it comes to your answer sheet, you cannot use highlighters. But in answer sheet, to highlight your notes, to highlight the key points so that the teacher focuses on the key points directly and it is easy for them to correct your paper, you can underline it with a different color of the paper. Again, don't use green color pens or red color pens. You are supposed to use only blue and black pen. For example, when I write my exam, I write the headings with black color and I write the answers in blue color. So when I write the answers in blue color, I underline the important keywords with the black pen. I double underline them. So this is how I make sure that my key points or the way that I've understood and that I've written should be highlighted to my invigilator so that he understands that I'm thorough with the topic and I'm well aware of what I'm writing. So the most important point is highlight or underline the key points when you write the answer. Let us understand how we can write good notes or how we can study properly by taking some topics as example. Now let us take a topic example of hypothalamus. When hypothalamus has been asked in your answer paper or if you're making notes of hypothalamus, you have only two key points in the hypothalamus and before that you have to write the definition. You have to write the definition of the hypothalamus, you have to write where it is found, and the third thing that you will do is functions or roles of the hypothalamus. Also, before that you can also add up a point of connections of the hypothalamus. That is, what is the connection of hypothalamus with the different organs present in our body. So after that what you will do is you will write about the roles and regulations of the hypothalamus. So I'll just mark 2-3 examples for you. For example, role in food intake, role in thirst regulation, role in emotions, role in sleeping. These are some of the roles that hypothalamus has in our body. So you have to write those roles and then you have to make the concept map or diagrams which are attractive. You don't have to write long stories, but you can make the concept maps and then explain the concept maps in an easy and short way. Then when you are done explaining the roles or the functions of the hypothalamus, you would be talking about the disorders of the hypothalamus. So that is how you would be learning your hypothalamus. First, the definition. Second, you would write about its structure. Third, its connection with the other organs or glands. Fourth, its roles and its functions. At the last, you will talk about the disorders of the hypothalamus, that is the clinical physiology of the hypothalamus. Now, let me give you an example of pathways, how you will read the pathways or how you can write the pathways for notes or for your exams. For example, let me take the pain pathway. In that, first you have to define what is pain. Then you have to define what is the pain pathway. And then you would talk about the pathway, that is first order neuron, second order neuron, third order neuron. Yeah. Also before that, pains are of two types, slow pain and fast pain. So you can also involve the two types of pains before writing about the pathway, which will give an impression that you're well aware of the whole topic deeply and in a thorough way. So you can tell about the two pathways, that is fast pathway, fast pain and slow pain. Then you would be talking about the pathway of both the fast pain and the slow pain, that is first order neuron, second order neuron and third order neuron. After talking about the pathway, you would draw the diagram of the pathway. You have a proper well labeled diagram. You can also find it in internet, or you can also refer to books like LPR or Venkatesh, which I used. Let us talk about the books at the last of the video. So you can refer the diagrams and you have to make a well clear explained pathway diagram. At last, you will be talking about regulation of the pathway. How the pain pathway is regulated, by which hormones it is regulated. Third, you have to talk about the centers of the pathway. For example, 3-1 center, the cerebral cortex, etc. You have to talk about these also. And then at the last, you would be talking about what happens when the pathway has lesion or some injury. So this is how you would be explaining the pathways, if the pathways have been asked. Pain pathway, ascending pathway, pyramidal tract, anything, or BP regulation. This is the way in which you're going to explain your pathways. Another example that we can take is of clinical physiology. For example, I told you dwarfism or gigantism or cretinism can be asked for 5 marks, that is short notes. What would you do there? You would write the definition, then you would write the cause which is causing the applied physiology, then you would write the features of the physiology, that is of the particular cretinism or dwarfism, whatever. You have to write what is the features you see in the human body when you have that particular applied physiology. Then you would talk about the treatment. Then you would talk about the dosage that you would be giving for the treatment. The hormone or the medicine or any dose that you're giving, you have to write about the dosage as well. And that is how you will end your applied physiology answers. Most of the time you don't have to involve diagrams because it doesn't have that much diagrams required when it comes to clinical physiology. So what you have to do is you have to make sure to mark the key points because there is no diagrams in such answers or such topics. Now, let us talk about any one hormone. Let me take an example of oxytocin. For example, you are supposed to study oxytocin or you are supposed to make notes. When it comes to oxytocin or any hormone, you have to write about the hormone. You have to write the site of production, site of activation, site of inactivation, the hormone regulation, the hormone function, and also the way it is getting stimulated and why it is getting inhibited. That means the inhibition of the hormone and the activation of the hormone. That is all you will talk about when it comes to hormone, and you will make a diagram if it is available or if it has been asked. So guys, this is the way you're supposed to study for physiology, write in your exams and make notes for yourself. Make sure you study from a book or from a good internet source and then make your own notes, because when you write by your own, you learn it in better way and you remember it for a longer time. So make sure you make good notes. Also, if you are not able to make good notes or if you're not able to follow your own notes, I would be starting physiology very soon and notes would be available in my Insta page. So that is not a problem as well. You can follow up my Insta page for getting good notes, for having easier notes, for studying well and for learning in an effective way. The link for my Insta page would be in the description. Now let us talk about the most interesting part of this video, and that is the books that I have referred. The notes I made has been already talked to you, and now we will talk about the books that I have referred for my first years when I was studying physiology. So my favorite book that I used is this one, the LPR 6th edition. I had 6th edition. LPR is the L. Prakashan Reddy sir's book. That is the medical physiology book of LPR. That is your L. Prakashan Reddy. This is a book which is, yeah, I know it is very thick, but it's not scary. It's a good book having a good content, but it has a little deeper content in some topics which is hard to understand. So for that, you can also buy the book which is your Venkatesh, the medical physiology book of Venkatesh. This book is also a good book and it is 4th edition, I think. I have the 4th edition. I don't know whether the next edition has been published or not. This is a book which has easier concept, but the details are not very much available. So what I did personally is I combined both of the books. I read both of the books for each topic, and then I combined their notes and made my own notes, so that I will have the depth of the topic as well as I will have easier words to remember. These are the two books that I used when I was in my first year. Another book that I've already talked about is the dictionary. Actually, it's not the book, it's the dictionary called the Dorland's Dictionary, the Medical Pocket Dictionary of Dorland's. This book, this one, you can see it here. This book or dictionary, you don't call it book, it is a dictionary. This has meaning of almost all the medical words, and it is very handy, very useful, because you don't have to go to the Google and search key what is the meaning of this word or what is the meaning of this word. It has meaning of almost all the medical terminologies, so you must have it, because we are ultimately going to study so many medical terminologies in the coming years. So it would be a good investment for a longer period of time. So I invested on that. Even you should try it out. Also, for physiology practicals, we have a separate particular book for the physiology practical itself. In anatomy, we may have practical books, but I never needed practical textbook for anatomy because my professors gave me all the notes. So they never asked us to buy any practical books for anatomy. So we followed our own BD Chaurasia and the teacher's notes and YouTube itself. But for physiology, we were asked to buy a practical book, and that book name is Practical Textbook of Physiology. You can see it here. The Practical Textbook of Physiology by G.K. Paul and Pravati Paul. G.K. Paul and Pravati Paul. Okay. The edition that I have is the 4th edition. I think the next edition also has been published. It is a really good book. It has every detail about the practicals that you would be going through. For example, you will have blood grouping, you will have measurement of BP, you will also learn about hemoglobin, then you will learn about the general examination, the human examination, then all those things. So all these things would be very clearly determined and examined and have been captured in this book so beautifully that it would be so easy for you to understand. You also have diagrams of the person actually doing those experiments, so it would be more easy for you to imagine and learn it better. So you can invest money on this also. So these are the 4 things that I had for physiology: the LPR book 6th edition, the Venkatesh book 4th edition, G.K. Paul and Pravati Paul textbook of practical physiology, which is the 4th edition again, and I had the Dorland's Dictionary. That is a very important and very beautiful dictionary for medical students, and that would be used for you for a longer period of time. So I just say that you should invest money on the Dorland's Dictionary as well. So these are the books that I referred. Also, as I told in my anatomy video, I also refer to YouTube videos. For good and easy videos, you can also refer to my channel. I've not started physiology yet, but I am planning to start physiology very soon. So you may comment down in the comment section below about the first topic or the recent ones that you need me to make notes on, to make videos on. So that is all about this video. In this, we have learned how to learn physiology in an effective way and to remember it for a longer period of time. I'm very sorry for the external disturbances that you may have heard in between, because we all are there in the lockdown, and I have neighbors, I have my parents working. I can't stop them from working. So I'm very sorry if there was any background disturbances. So that is all about this video, and that is all about how to study physiology. See, everything is easy. You have to be confident, you have to be interested. When you're interested and when you're confident, everything becomes easy. Any doubt or any queries, please comment down in the comment section below. Also, for good notes, you can follow my Instagram page. The link to my Instagram page would be given in the description below. And as always, please like, share and subscribe and keep supporting. And I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Stay safe, stay home.